Hey, we're live, right?
That we are.
Okay, if you're wondering where that great video and music was, we had technical difficulties this morning. So, Shannon, coming from New Jersey, is going to probably pop in the studio, and we're hoping to be able to bring her back on without an echo. So, you don't want to hear Martin and I's echo a zillion times.
Definitely don't want to hear mine.
So, I noticed something while we were trying to figure out these technical difficulties.
What did you
You were
notice?
calm and grounded, and I said shit, I think 3 times. God, I wish I was more grounded in those moments. I
Y-
just I
you know, it's funny because I think that both approaches are valid.
Okay, great.
Like I have no
Perfect.
problem leaning into whatever it is that I'm feeling when
Yeah,
I'm dealing with something,
yeah.
as long as I mean, sort of the background thought, I guess, is as long as it's action conducive, right?
Well, I don't know if shit is action
I,
conducive.
are you doing something to resolve the problem while you're saying shit? I think I'm fine with it. If you're just
Ye
sort of like
Okay,
saying
okay.
shit, F this, and just throwing everything,
Yeah, okay,
that's where it breaks and you're
okay.
really not getting what you're supposed to be getting.
Okay, so I shouldn't be so hard on myself then and comparing myself to you because you're very grounded and you're like, "Okay, Nat, we need to make some decisions."
We need to
And
make
and I'm like, "Shit."
yeah, well,
All
hey,
right. We promised one thing in this podcast that
eh,
we were going to be real and freaking raw. And here it is, people.
here we are delivering on that promise like
Yeah.
nobody's business.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you may or may not see Shannon. You may see her wonderful face and you might hear an echo and then she goes bye-bye. So we will get her back on if something happens, and this is why um Martin is really good at being ultra prepared at things like this cuz technology can happen to all of us, right? I love technology until I don't.
Yay,
So,
technology. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So let's get real and raw because we're going off topic here. We're not going to talk about joy today.
I
We're
mean,
going to
we
talk about
could.
fear,
Yes, you know,
but we want to wait for Shannon.
but
So
the same
let's
side of the coin.
Right. Well, in this moment, we may not feel happiness, but we can still feel joy that we're laughing about it, that this is life, that, whatever. But let's get real and raw about how you talked me off the ledge this week or last week and what advice you gave me and what I did with that advice. Even though I had so much anxiety, I couldn't even talk to you for a full hour. I had to just like, okay, just I gotta go. Like, ugh. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, I think you're gonna expose me a little bit here because one of the things that happens to me a lot is I will have these fantastic conversations with people and then not remember what was said.
Okay, well, I will
But
give
why
you a
don't you just
little.
give us the 10,000-foot level of like
Okay.
what's the type of situation that was going on and what
Okay.
we had to discuss.
Okay. Because there's so many times you have to, peel me off the ledge. You're not sure which one this is. I understand. Okay.
That's not what
So
I meant.
I know, I know. So, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, or if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, I was in a place of, I would say I like to be a high achiever. I like to succeed. I like to move forward in a positive direction. But we know life is not always going to deal or, yeah, deal that episode. So,
Doesn't go along with it all the time.
thank you. More eloquently said for sure. So, I had a situation where I lost out on something. I tried my best. I knew it had nothing to do with me or the energy I put into it. Um, but there was a mourning in that because I'd put so much time and energy and it was exciting and it felt right. And I'm all about how things feel. And it didn't go the way I had planned it. And I was in a bucket of tears, and I was mad at the world for it, and or specific people, let's say. And that happened on a Friday. You and I had a meeting on Monday or Tuesday, and you said, "Hey, can we meet Wednesday morning instead?" And I said, "No,
You said no,
no,
no.
absolutely not. I need you." So we had our meeting. Okay, so are you up to speed now?
I'm up fully up to speed now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
And
take
just
us
to
through.
clarify, and just
Yeah.
to clarify it, right? What you're talking about is something personal that didn't go your way, and you're feeling like,
No. No, it's not personal at all.
oh
That
no,
was
no, no.
business.
Okay. Yeah. I now I'm up to speed.
Okay, this was something I've been working
Now I'm up
towards
to
in
speed.
business for a year and
Right.
a half. It starts with an F and ends with an E, and there's several letters in between. Okay, Martin.
Yes. Okay. Got it. What you were was so invested in an outcome and it looked so good, right? It looked like a perfect fit. It looked like it was going to happen. And like a meter from the finish line, somebody said, you know what? We're probably not going to do this, right? We're going to pass. And
Yes.
that felt like a gut punch.
It
Now
just
we're on the
did
same
too.
page. Yeah. We just relived it. Got it.
Yes.
Uh, and and yeah, and you were in bad shape. And
A scale of
for
1 to 10, 10 being great, where would you say I was in the 12 years you've known me?
so what? 10 is great.
10 is great usually for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you were like a 2.
Ooh, I was
You were like a
bad.
3 or 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
And
that good.
for me, what's interesting about it though is that I've known you for a long time, and the only time that I worry about you is when you refuse to take an action.
That's what you said to me.
You
Damn
know,
it.
like fear is normal. Fear is healthy. Fear is a natural response, right? Your
Mhm.
brain needs fear to keep you alive.
Right.
Your brain needs fear to show you, how to not die. That
And
is the
protect you.
that is the
Mhm.
primal function it had back then for
Mhm.
our ancestors, and it's still the same function. Now,
Mhm.
there's a lot less things that can kill us now, but the physical sensations are the same, the neurotransmitters that are released are the same. So
Mhm.
fear is fear, and it is natural, and you shouldn't resist it, right? You should just get to know it. You should get to know how it affects you. You should get to know how it presents itself, because it's not always sort of clear cut, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a version of that where I just don't do anything. It
Mhm.
feels like malaise more than it feels like fear. But once I dig, what's happening is I'm afraid. I'm
Right,
afraid of
the
a result.
underlayer. Mhm.
I'm afraid of failing
Mhm.
at achieving a
Mhm.
result. And
Mhm.
what I convince myself to do instead is procrastinate, just sort of slow down, be exhausted, and not
Go in the
just jump in.
cave.
So that brings me to the point of it, right? So you're gonna have to suspend your normal approach to language here, but in my philosophy, fear is the opposite of action,
Mm, okay.
right? Once you
Paralyzing.
die,
I always say fear and anxiety are paralyzing.
there's a reason that is one of the multiple expressions of fear, right?
Mhm.
Paralyzed,
Mhm.
being paralyzed, because you know that's the point. What your brain is trying to achieve is for you to not be hurt again.
Right.
So if we go back to this scenario where you were dealing with something, uh, what happened was you put all this effort, you got all excited, you had all this visions of
Mhm.
what that was going to accomplish for you, and then it was nothing, and it felt horrible.
And to add to that, I'm one of those there's people out there, and I give the pregnancy example. When they find out they're pregnant at 6 weeks, there's people like me that go tell the people important in my life that I'm pregnant. And then there's people that will not tell anyone until they feel safe after 12 weeks. I don't think either way is right or wrong. I just think it's how we deal with things. And I did tell people about this. Like, I would say, I'm really excited. This is
Hmm.
kind of where we're at. And and I knew in the back of my mind, I'm doing that because that's what's happening right now and real for me right now. And if it doesn't work out, those people are going to be there for me in that moment as well.
Yep. Well, you see, in the pregnancy example, right? You probably have a first time parents that are like super excited and they're telling everybody. In
Mhm.
the alternative, right? People that are not telling anybody until they're 12 weeks or more, they might have had bad experiences leading up to it, right?
I don't know. I think it's the type of person because I had a miscarriage, but this is not about pregnancy.
It's not, but it is about how we learn from
Right.
adverse effects, right? And your brain's job, self-appointed as it may be, is to prevent you from feeling like shit again. Right. So when you go all like get all excited about something and you put all your effort towards it and it just doesn't work and it feels so bad,
Yeah.
your brain goes, well, let's just not have that again.
Mhm.
Let's just not
Mhm.
do that whole thing again.
Mhm.
And, you know, to land the plane a little bit, right? It was a sales thing. You were trying
Mhm.
to get somebody to agree to say yes to something.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
was beautiful until it wasn't.
Mhm.
And then you were like, I don't want to do anything. You
Mhm.
were in a I don't want to do anything mode.
Well, I was also into an interesting mode where I was blaming my past relationship.
And that's kind of the point. You see, at that level, your brain is just gonna hold on to whatever works for you. Right?
Mhm.
Because just the
Yeah.
logic of like,
Yeah.
sales are tough, that wasn't gonna be enough to stop you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But they're like, maybe this is a pattern of bigger things, right? Maybe
Yeah.
you no longer have it. Maybe whatever it is, it was grasping at to keep you small and to keep you from feeling hurt again.
Mhm.
That's what was happening.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the only way I found to accurately deal with it is to kind of force the effect a little bit,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? You have to try it again. You have to get in there again
Mhm.
and demonstrate to yourself that whatever those concepts being thrown at you that you're going to fail or that this is not going to work,
Mhm.
you need to prove them wrong.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
was basically the coaching there, right? The coaching
Yeah.
is, look, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong. And I was looking forward to having a conversation with Shannon about this
And now
because
you could just get me.
I'm very, how am I gonna say that without sounding weird? Um I'm very,
You're
if you're
not woo
feeling
woo.
if you're feeling like shit, feel like shit, right? If you're
Okay.
feeling
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
feel awesome and feel the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I struggle with the message,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that that's her message. I'm saying
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
struggle with a lot of information people get of like
Mhm.
trying to force them to feel happy and to feel a
Mhm.
certain way. It's like, no,
Mhm.
feel how you feel, just don't stop the action.
Mhm. Yeah, I think for her a little bit more, which again, I don't want to speak for her, but I've started her book and did an exercise with her, and it's more of what are the things that bring you pure bliss in life? Is it sitting on your patio with a cup of coffee in the morning? Is it connecting with people? Whatever it is, that moment where you're just sitting here and you're just going, life is so good. Whatever
Hmm.
that is, capturing that and making sure that's a part of your life on a constant basis so that you are filling yourself with that joy and that yes feeling to get through some of the not so great times.
Well,
So,
exactly. And that's the point, like Candace is saying, if what you're feeling is deflated and like shit, you have to like fully feel it. That's
mhm,
action too. You have
mhm,
to just lean into that because it will stop. But if
mhm,
you keep blaming yourself for how you feel, it's going
mhm.
to stick around for longer.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
that
there
has
was a
been
lot of deflation and
sure.
feeling of letting people down and, will I ever, um, you know, get to this goal and that kind of thing, and I know in my heart I will, and if you look at all of the people that have done incredible things, they didn't just have these great succession of all these wins.
Hmm.
Actually, the morning that this happened, I was listening to the radio, John Jay and Rich, and they were saying, "Here are the signs you're successful."
They still have radios.
Well, actually, I wasn't on I was on the radio app.
Mm,
But anyway, it was, and one of the things were, have you wanted something and not gotten it or failed at it?
mm,
And I was like, ugh,
yeah.
no, no, yes. And then I got that example.
Mm,
Um, and And that is success because you're trying, you're doing something, you're moving forward to your point, is taking action and moving the ball forward.
yeah. And
Sometimes I have to go down to the very bottom of it, Martin, to release
sure,
some pressure to be
sure.
like, okay. Oh, and we talked about this too. So let's bring that up. But like, if I do nothing more with Pacific Perks and I die today, I have done enough. Sometimes I have to go give permission to myself to just say that I could do nothing more.
Yeah.
And then that kind of almost gives me space to then go forward. What's up with that?
Well, that's what Candace is saying there is
Yeah.
that you cannot fail at something if you're not even trying it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people tell you that as the reason to not take action. Oh, what if I fail? What if you fail?
Mhm.
Like, you are in the middle of getting the thing you want if you're failing.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
we're having this conversation, you're not. You're not
Mhm.
any closer. You're just talking.
But even you saying, "What if you fail?"
Mhm.
I can just feel this like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it just like, do you feel it? If I say to you, Martin, what if you fail at what you're trying to do here? I mean,
I
does that
probably
just,
I'll probably say I have.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I love like Mel Robbins. I love Glennon Doyle. And you look at
mhm,
your life, and Mel is in her 50s, I think. And her husband was in a partnership for a restaurant
mm,
doing what he really wanted to do. It didn't go well. They were bankrupt, and look at her now. I'm like, Nat, I'm not going bankrupt yet. But and Glennon Doyle too, like
yeah,
all the stuff she's gone through. And look, now it's inspiration. And you told me that. You said you're going to be talking about this experience.
and that's what happens a lot, right? If you ever read one of those entrepreneurship books of how I did it,
Yeah. Yeah.
by the way, the disclaimer is read those with huge grains of salt. And like don't
Yeah.
just because all of those stories are
Mhm.
romanticized and cleaned up. Okay?
Mhm.
Nothing is that clean.
Mhm.
Bill Gates did not sit in that garage knowing that he was going to do whatever, right? And it wasn't that
Right.
quite a garage either, right? So they're
Mhm.
cleaned up, but they all
Mhm.
have that in common. There's
Mhm.
just a list of failures.
Mhm.
It's like a directed failure with a threat of action in the middle.
So I needed this failure so I can get onto the better side of things.
You do, and you did,
Mhm. I did. I can't believe it. I
right?
freaking did it.
And the coaching
Like that
was
day, like within 5 to
minutes.
7 minutes
The
after we
coaching was
cut our call off short, because I just
the
was like, "All right."
yeah, the coaching was like, look, all you have to do is lean into that you know to do. Go take an action for an hour, for 2 hours, whatever you can tolerate, and then come back and lay in a fetal position, right? Like, I don't care as
That
long
made me
as,
feel so good. That
as
made me go ahead.
yeah, no, as long as you are going to like insert that action somewhere, right?
Mhm,
I don't necessarily care about how you're going to feel on the other side of it. I know you're going to
mhm,
feel better, but
mhm,
I don't necessarily care. Like, if you're
mhm,
going to feel like shit for the rest of the day, that's okay, as
mhm,
long as you go and plant a little action.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's what you did. And how did that go?
Um, well, I was gonna send an email, and I was like, "Fuck that. I'm going all in." And I picked up the phone and dialed, and it was well received by someone that I'd lost contact with, and we're in the process of a possible other opportunity.
And,
And I
and
say that calmly, as it may or may not be the right thing for either of us.
but what would you
Look at me.
know
Look how
the
much I've
next time?
grown.
You've in like a day. Like, but what would that be like the next time, right? The next time, the it not working or it potentially not working is not going to necessarily feel like, okay, well, just got to go back to the fetal position thing, right? I actually have
Mhm.
to have a choice.
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
basically are breaking a pattern of non-action by
Mhm.
saying, okay, well, if I feel like that, right?
Mhm.
There's like multiple things to remember. You don't have to not feel like that. It's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
It's okay to have your hopes up for something, and it's okay to feel like shit when it doesn't work, having had your
Mhm.
hopes up.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
as long as you don't stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this thing that always makes me think about it. I'm gonna see if I can share it. Because as you were talking, I was like, there's something about this that I should show. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, that. It's
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
and tired is interchangeable in there, right?
Yeah, and we should actually read this, Martin, so people that are listening just on audio.
It says, if you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit.
Mhm.
And tired is interchangeable, right? If you feel sad, go cry it out. Just don't
Mhm.
quit.
Mhm. Yeah, for
It's like
sure.
it's like if you feel hungry, eat, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's really basic in a sense. It's not complex,
Mhm. For
but our
sure.
our first impulse is not to think in simplicity. We sort of like
Mhm.
add complexity to stuff, and that's how we end up in paralysis, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, first of all, congratulations on not stopping,
Thank
even though
you.
you really, really wanted to.
Oh.
And it takes courage, right? So it's sort of what's what the real opposite of fear is courage.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Mhm.
not fearlessness, it's courage.
Mhm.
Courage
Yeah.
is to act in the face of fear.
Fear.
And as
Yeah,
long as
let's
you can do
say
that,
that again. Say that,
yeah,
because that is, it's so important and so good, and you've told me years in the past, I've written it on my little board here, that that that's something that I have.
Yeah,
And
'cause
I
it's
always move towards things that I'm scared to death of, even though I
that
need to do it.
that's
So
why you are successful.
yeah, I think my success is my interpersonal skills. I don't know. Like I'm emceeing a conference, 2.5 day conference next week.
Mhm.
And there's 600 to 800 people. And I got asked because they think I'd be great and my energy and that kind of thing. And I
I don't
was
disagree.
so excited and I'm scared to death. Oh,
Yeah,
Barb. See, things happen for a reason. And so the gift of Shannon maybe not having the technology issue we had with Shannon's, whatever, whoever's end it is, maybe it was for a reason that what we needed to talk about today was this.
you get the gift of echo, Barbara.
Yeah, we had a lot of echo going on for sure. Yeah. So I'm glad, Barbara, it's just what you needed to hear today. So um we have promised real and raw, and why not just put it out there on a silver platter with my head
Boy, did we
attached?
deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is what's going on in, my world. And, that's what happened from Friday morning to Tuesday afternoon.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, right? For everyone else, the
Yeah.
the practice could potentially be, right? You got to find for yourself what the practice is. And by practice, I mean, what is a good strategy to repeat?
Mhm.
So the practice should be, if you pause right now, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish,
Mhm.
and you list the things that are the scariest about that thing you're trying to accomplish,
Mhm.
probably, possibly, those things are the things that actually need to go happen.
Okay. So this is where I go. Give me an example of what you're trying to tell us.
Yeah.
I need
So
layman's terms.
so let's just say that you're trying to, I don't know, make your make your bakery successful, right? You want to like, or you want to start a bakery. Okay.
Okay. It's
And one of
always
the
a pie
things,
shop.
it's always a pie shop, right? One of the things that scares you the most could be what? Give me an example of something that would scare somebody wanting to start a bakery.
Well, if someone's starting a bakery, it's probably because, which is funny I'm saying this, is because they like to make pies.
Well, I mean, do they? But yes, okay, let's say that they
I
do.
mean, not in my instance, but so maybe for me, it would be like all the other hats they have to wear. Candace
Okay,
thinks ants.
it could be German cockroaches. Yeah, no, but go on. So, so they
So I just want to bake pies, Martin.
they don't want to do accounting. They don't want
I
to
know.
do. Yep,
Payroll. I don't want to deal with
they don't want to
employees.
deal with employees.
I don't want to deal with social media posts. I just
So,
want to make pies and hand them over and take money and put a smile on someone's face and
awesome,
have people tell me how great my pies are.
beautiful. So the things that scare that person, right, are whatever their perception of themselves around finances or around employee management or around all those other ancillaries. Like it's either because I feel like I don't know enough, it's either because I feel like I will mess it up or somebody's going to be hurt by it. So if you sit in the timeline of your bakery at the very beginning and look forward, what are the things you should do? Because do you have any doubts that you're going to be making tasty pies? Is that even under
In my
discussion?
pretend person, yeah,
No,
no
like you
doubts.
have no doubt, right? Like that is what you do. That part you have down. That part it's easy. That is your comfort zone. That will never not happen. But
Mhm.
how would you put those pies in front of hundreds or thousands of people?
Mhm.
There's no way you can do it on your own.
Right.
There's no way you can do it without some structure or scale. There's no way you can do it without
Right.
even a website or a social media campaign or something. Right?
Mhm.
All the things that you listed as like what I don't want to deal with. And again, you got to read that properly, because if somebody says, I don't really want to deal with that stuff, it's not that they have a preference, it's that they have a fear.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
fear that that's going to be inadequate, insufficient, scary, wrong, whatever it is that they've painted in their heads about how that's going to be.
And
And here's
that's
the
what
thing,
stops possible entrepreneurs from taking that jump into business, right?
and they won't do it, right? That would be that lady that everybody talks about her pies, but she never made it into the pie
Mhm.
shop
Mhm.
world, right?
Mhm.
And here's the thing,
But it is a choice,
she could
you know?
fail, but she
Yeah.
could fail.
Yeah.
There's a scenario where what she learns is that maybe the best solution for her is to be part of a pie collective,
Mhm.
right? Where there's like shared resources and other people do all that other stuff. But she would
Mhm.
never find that out
Mhm.
unless she takes those actions, right? That
Mhm.
puts her in the place where those things that they fear have to happen, or have to
Mhm.
at least be looked at seriously, right? They need
Mhm.
to be doing the work.
Mhm.
I talk to people all the time that want to start things, and
Mhm.
they're some of my favorite people to talk to, by the way. Like
Mhm.
I love talking to people who have an idea for a business, or who
'Cause they're
really want to
hopeful
start.
and they've
Well,
got and creative and
look, what I like about it
dreamy.
is that there's so much low-hanging fruit for producing results. It really
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot, right? When
Yeah.
somebody's been in business for 20 years, the what we need to go do is a little different.
Mhm.
It's usually
Mhm.
adjustments of
Yeah.
stuff. But when
Yeah.
somebody hasn't even started, it's just so
Mhm.
amazing, all the little things that we could try to give them a real experience of, okay, well, this is the right thing to do. But
Yeah.
anyway, so what they'll list usually is just their fears. They sort of just list all the things that make him afraid in one way or another. And what we end up talking about is, which one of those are you going to choose? Which one of those are you going to choose to go tackle, to do something about that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which one are you going to take a leap for, like Barbara says?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
always tell them, it's not much of a leap, right?
Surprise.
For some of these things, it's not much of a leap. We're talked about before how a lot of people think they need all these things to start a business, and they don't.
Mhm.
But that's part of it, right? Like,
Mhm.
part of it is building up this idea in your head that there are 12,000 things you have to do before you can be in business.
Well, we do that with a lot of things. Like,
That's another
before I go
manifestation of fear. Yeah,
yeah, before I go work out, I need the cute outfit. That's what's
that's why
missing.
you don't. Yeah,
That's why I don't go, or
but
because I wanna look perfect when I go there. Um, we do that with everything.
yeah.
It's the excuse that stops us from everything.
Well, I mean, I like I said, we were supposed to be talking about joy today, and I don't want to be Mr. Grim Bringer, but human beings are defined by their fear so much.
Oh, it's
We're just defined by the things that scare us.
yeah. Oh, 100%. I feel like a lot of us are fighting that fear constantly,
Yeah,
daily, you know? Whether
yeah,
I'm taking care of myself and the fear I'm not doing enough in that moment, or, taking the business to the next level, making those big decisions, whatever it is,
yep,
can be the littlest things. It's always, am I doing enough? Is this okay to be doing? What I should be doing more? Haha. We should ourselves a lot. But
yeah.
fear is really around that.
Yeah, and it's a trick, right? It's a trick for
Mhm.
inaction.
Mhm.
The outcome is inaction. So a
Mhm.
good way to check yourself is to say, okay, what is it that I'm like worried about right now? What I'm thinking it's going
Mhm.
to be bad, or it's not going to work, or is it
Mhm.
okay?
Mm.
You define that. I'm worried about, you know, this having been a bad idea, or this be a
Mhm.
bad concept, or I will never
Mhm.
sell one of these things again, or like
Mhm.
whatever it is. That's what you're
Mhm.
worrying about.
Mhm.
The next step after that is, okay, is it stopping my action?
Mhm.
And if the answer is yes,
Mhm.
then what you need to do is take an action. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, right?
Mhm.
Let's say that in the case of employees, for instance, right, you're not going to go from 0 to employees,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of steps that will bring you there inevitably, right? And that's what you're
Mhm.
going to go do in that moment.
Which are the baby steps, which are biting the elephant one, one bite at a time or whatever that saying
Mhm.
is. And that seems doable. And that kind of releases some of that fear because like, okay, I can go do that. My mom's always says, just go walk for 10 minutes. Just go for 10 minutes. And at the end of the 10 minutes, if you feel like going longer, go longer. And we end up doing that. It's
Yeah.
just getting us lifted off into a different space.
Well, and,
Um,
and and that's the other part of it. I find it that is useful to talk to others about what you're being afraid of,
mhm,
because everybody else is
mhm,
going to have a slightly different perspective, right? We're not
mhm,
afraid of the same things.
mhm,
Some people seem to have a natural ability to do certain things, and you want to talk to them, and you want to find out. And, you know, I always talk to people about fear in business, and how it's the exact same type of psychological fear, right? Somebody
mhm.
has a phobia. The only proven therapy for a phobia is exposure.
Peanut allergy.
Well, that's an allergy. That's not a that's not a phobia.
Yeah, but
But
that's not a
but
phobia, but that makes me think of the peanut allergy where there's a therapy of giving a little bit of a peanut, whatever.
yeah, I don't know that that one works. But in the phobia, right? What works is exposure therapy. Is they don't, like, if you're afraid of spiders, they don't hand you a tarantula.
Mhm,
That's not what they
mhm.
do.
Right.
They will have a conversation where they describe one.
Mhm,
Then the next
mhm,
one will show you a picture of a cartoon spider,
mhm,
right? And the next one they'll show you maybe a real picture from afar. In the
mhm.
next one they'll show you a slightly closer picture. And then,
Yeah.
like, you will go step by step until you can hold one in your hand.
Mhm,
Or if
mhm,
not, you will at least get to the place where you can look at one without fainting,
mhm. Right,
right?
right.
The
So
whole
baby
point
steps.
the whole point is those little bite-sized chunks will
Mhm,
get you closer, such
mhm,
that you'll have more clarity as to whether that thing that you were afraid of is or is not the right direction. Because look, again, fear is natural and fear is normal. You should have some. Should
mhm,
you have fear if you're starting a business of having a bunch of employees that depend on you? Yes, you
mhm,
should have a fear of that, because it should be
mhm,
a serious thing for you.
mhm, mhm. So some of that fear
And,
is
and it's even
productive.
it's even the right thing for you. Some
Mhm,
businesses run perfectly well without,
mhm.
right?
Right,
But you will
right.
not know that until you've exposed yourself enough through action
Yeah.
for you to know a sense. So we have a couple people in the comments, and I would like to see, if you're trying to build a business or if you're in business,
Mhm.
will you share one of your fears and we can talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Love to hear it.
So,
So, something that's coming up for me, give a few minutes for people to respond if they'd like to,
yeah,
is that is there a personality difference where some people are like, "You know what? I'm good making pies at home. I have no interest in a business."
right.
Or are you saying that
Only if it's true.
all okay, only if it's true. Okay.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
saying that so that you never take a risk, but then we'll have a different conversation to have, right? But if somebody doesn't want to, I always tell people, look, you should not ruin your passion. If
Mhm.
you make art because you're passionate about art,
Mhm.
you probably don't want to turn yourself into an art machine, right? If
Mhm.
you make, beautiful little woodworking pieces and people go, oh my God, they're so awesome, you should sell
Mhm.
these.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So that's a beautiful one, right? Love that one.
So you're saying that you shouldn't make these beautiful little pieces your
If you
big
don't want
business.
to turn that into a business, right? If part of your relationship to the thing is not to like have everyone have one and make money through it, and it's just
Mhm.
about the piece you get out of it. I use
Mhm.
woodworking all the time because I do it, right? Whenever
Mhm.
I have time. I love it because it's
Mhm.
mindless. I can sand the same piece of wood for 6 hours without thinking about anything.
Well,
I
there's
would
no pressure.
I
There's
would
no
not
pressure.
I would not want to turn that into a business ever, ever, ever,
Yeah.
because it will
Yeah.
completely rob me of that pleasure.
So, how do you know the difference between taking your passion, which if you're passionate about something and you can make money off that and love that, that's great,
Yeah.
versus having a passion that you want to just keep for yourself and is almost a stress relief from your daily life and daily work? How do you
Well,
know?
the simplest test that I found to figure that out is asking them. I
Mhm.
ask them. There's people who have a good relationship with something that they do,
Mhm.
and I ask them if what they want is to live off of that. And if
Mhm.
they do, we can talk about what steps are to
Mhm.
follow. But if
Mhm.
what they're doing it is as a release, they're doing it as a
Mhm.
something that really brings them peace and joy, I
Mhm.
would be like, well, you know, there's steps to take where like you could
Mhm.
make it available for people.
Mhm.
Artists are like that, right? Where like
Mhm.
you want to talk to them about, look, do you want to be a professional artist?
Mhm.
But if you want to be a professional artist, which is you live off of the art, that is going to require living off the art, right? We're
Mhm.
going to have conversations about selling it, pricing,
Mhm.
production, distribution. Where are we going to put it, right? How are you going to expose people to it that don't know you from before?
Well, and it's bringing up something for me that I have felt is I'm putting it out there for the world. And are people going to want what I've created?
Right.
Like that is
And
real for me. And to
I
that point, why don't you bring up Barbara's?
well, I love that all the questions are along the same way, right? So
Mhm.
Candace says, no one wants to hear what I have to say. She's an author. And Barbara says, I'm a photographer. I worry that my photos are not good enough. Beautiful. Basically, the same thread line on both, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
If either they don't want to hear what you have to say because it's not good enough, or
Mhm.
Barbara is like, I don't know if they're good enough.
Mhm.
So how would you know?
Mm. Do you want to know? But
You really want to know,
you
but
do, but if
it,
I
I
guess if you
I
don't,
think
it's
she
fear.
does.
Mhm.
She does, by the way the question is worded. I'm pretty certain she does want to know. And the way to find out is take a bunch of pictures and put them in front of people and ask them,
Mhm. Mhm.
and make it so
Oh,
that
that's scary.
it's productive, right? And again, right,
Mhm.
if it's super scary, do a little bit,
Mhm.
right? Do one
Mhm.
and have five people look at it and
Mhm.
tell you, and make it so that it's productive, right? So how do you make it so that it's productive? Instead of asking, do you like this?
Mhm.
Say, what do you like about this?
Mhm.
Find out what about it is good for people. And
Mhm.
then you can also ask, again, if you're going to bring up the courage level, you can also ask what could be better.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh god, it's so scary. But Barbara, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting my baby out there for the world.
Well, I mean, when your sale didn't go through, Nat, what was my
Mhm.
advice about that?
I'm having amnesia. What was it?
It was a great fit. It was somebody who you really, really
Yes.
wanted.
Oh,
It was, what was it?
yeah. Go talk to that person
About what?
about, what went well, what did we miss, that kinda thing. So I
What
did
about
that
it?
that same day. I made
What
that
about it
appointment.
didn't work, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about it had you just
Mhm.
close enough that you
Mhm.
said no at the very end, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
where did we miss the boat?
And I have to say, that was so helpful Um, and I absolutely I can't stand when I think I can do something and I have to tell someone, "You know what? I can't." And you get a simple, "Okay." Or, something that makes you just feel like the door slammed in your face.
Mm.
And so, I responded via email and text and very humble and whatever. I felt like I did a good job, but I really appreciated your advice because it was so good to do that. It was good for her, it was good for me. Ideas started coming of potential things that we can work together because I love this gal, and I know that she'll be in our future for sure. And, it may not be right now, but it's something that will be right soon, or in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you gain things from it either way.
Mhm.
Right? You gain
Mhm.
things by exposing yourself to that potential rejection. Right? You gained
Mhm.
so much. You gained
Mhm.
a clearer picture as to who your market is. Same
Mhm.
for same for Candace. Same
Mhm.
for Barbara. Like, what
Mhm.
is the who are the people who actually want what you're selling? Not everybody
Mhm.
does. And we
Mhm.
talked about it in the last episode, where it's like you don't need a million people to
Mhm.
be successful in some of these things. You need a
Mhm.
thousand good fans, and
Mhm.
you need to know what kind of people they are, right? And now you know what kind of people you need. Barbara, you would
Mhm.
find out the type of people who really enjoy your photography.
Mhm.
Candace, you will find out the type of people who really enjoy your writing. There's a certain type,
Yeah, there's a certain type for sure.
right? And then you'll need to know where they hang out, right? What do they currently
Mhm.
read? And if you
Mhm.
wanted to get them to buy your books, you will then talk to those groups. You will go after this
Yeah.
type of individual. You don't want to do what a lot of people do, which is shotgun market, where they just
Mhm.
talk to everybody about their product and they try to force a yes.
Yeah, so we did a little experiment on my business. You spearheaded that, and it was so eye-opening. You said, "How many companies did you work with in, um, 2022?" And so, "Oh, yeah, you do, can or Barbara. I can loan it to you, but you gotta bring it back." Um, Barbara wants to read Candace's book. Anyway, so they're gonna be fast friends soon. So we took the number of businesses that we worked with in 2022. Now, this wasn't the number of events we did with each company, but just the companies themselves.
Mhm.
And then we took our market and how many businesses were in our market, and it was astonishing, to your point, that we work with 0.6% of the businesses in our market.
You
So
have
we're
a
a
successful business that has a
successful business.
0.6% penetration. Okay. Like, that is the kind of stuff that people need to understand. You run a successful seven-figure business with a zero point 0.6 penetration.
Crazy. I think that was for Barbara, the hearts.
It's for all of it.
Yeah, I mean, that just blew me away. Less than 1% of the businesses that we work with, it is crazy.
So you
Crazy.
get to tell your franchisees too, when they
Mhm.
come in and go, well, I don't know if I can do it like you can. You're like, look, all you need is about half of a percent of the businesses that are out there. You
Mhm.
think you can do that? And by the way,
Mhm.
there's a lot,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
because you
Yeah,
can
that's
actually,
kid in the
like,
candy store, man.
I, what I love about data and telling stories through data is that, right? They wanted to be
Mhm.
able to say, look, there are 12,000 or
Mhm.
25,000 or 150,000 businesses in your area of influence here. You
Mhm.
need half of a percent.
And of course, it's different with every industry. For us, we have a very high repeat rate.
Sure.
So those number of, companies we work with exude a lot of events.
And
Um,
most will do the
but
same. You know, like
That's true.
if you look at things like Nike
Chipotle.
shoes, Nike shoes,
Nike.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
How many people actually are Nike customers?
Mhm. Mhm.
They're counting on about a 2% of the population.
Interesting.
And that's the point, right? The point
Mhm.
is a lot of us
Diehards.
build up too much the idea of what success will look like.
Mhm.
And if we don't know what it would look like, there's a
Mhm.
chance that we will never try. We'll
Yeah.
never try to go after it.
I thought you said cry for a second,
Well,
but that
you
too.
will do some crying. That is, you will be doing some
Oh.
crying.
Well, it's 9:53,
That it is.
and so, we will be really trying to get Shannon back on because she has so much she exudes joy. So, and our next podcast was going to be about how to take action in the face of fear. And we did that
We
today.
did it today.
We did it today. So, I can't
So
tell you what the next. Yeah.
it's either there's a chance that we may potentially coordinate with Shannon and have her back on that next date, or if
Yeah.
not, we will come up with something.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's always things to talk about, for sure. My next crisis, we'll bring that up if we have to, or my
Maybe,
next win.
maybe mine
Yeah, maybe yours. And you are going on vacation,
that I am. Yeah.
and yeah, and I kinda want to interview you after you're back and see how many times you looked at your phone or answered questions from clients, and how it felt to take that much time off, and what was challenging for you, and what
Mhm.
did you learn from that time too. So,
Yeah. We can do a
yeah.
post vacation show.
Yeah. 'Cause
We're not going to be back on the first week of the month as usual, though. We're going to be back on the second week, so that's going to be October the 13th for our
yeah,
next
Friday
show.
the 13th.
Yes,
So we need to have a theme on that one. And the reason why we aren't is because I am going to be in Denver at the Dames Fun Friends. Megan Conter was one of our first guest speaker, actually.
she
You
was.
can go on YouTube and listen to her, amazing gal. And I'm going to be at a women's conference. And actually, that's how I met Shannon, our guest speaker for today. And so I'm going to be there. And so I'm going to be surrounded by incredible, amazing women right when I'm supposed to be on my podcast. So
It is what it is. We will be
it is
back,
what
and
it
you can
is.
tell us about that too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some really big insight, hopefully. I love aha moments. So
Perfect.
anyway. All right.
Well, great. Thank you,
Perfect.
guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah. Sounds great. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the fall weather and football and Friday Night Lights and Disneyland for you, Martin,
Will
and
do.
all that good stuff. All right.